Welcome to episode 53 of the Self-Care 101 podcast, helping you to crush overwhelm, stay focused and live better, with your host, Puja McClymont. Thank you so much for listening today. In this episode, I'm going to do something a little different. Life is so overwhelming right now, and it just seems like everything has been put on pause with almost no end in sight. The news, the confusion, the fears all lead us to despair. However, there is one thing that if you're open to it can make all the difference, and that's having spirituality. Today I'm going to share with you some excerpts from one of my favourite books, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The Power of Now gives into your hands the ultimate answer to all of life's problems, explaining the most complex concepts in the simplest of ways. Eckhart points out how we get caught up in the past or live in the future and fail to enjoy the present. The book highlights how we tend to focus so much attention on our thoughts and reactions to situations that we often mistake these for our identity. Reading the book shows us how our true self is very different from our outward facade, and how, to uncover this inner self, all that is needed is to understand how to live in the present moment. Use today's show like a gentle meditation. Lie down, close your eyes, relax your body and just listen to the words. Observe how you feel when you listen to the words. I really hope that it gives you some respite during this challenging time. So let's get to it. The Power of Now explains how living in the present is a solution to all of life's problems. It talks about the need to understand how all of humankind is connected at the root level, becoming part of one infinite pool of consciousness. Understanding this gives us the clarity of mind to see that our misfortunes, negative thoughts, and bad situations are all illusions created and supported by our mind. To be truly happy, you only need to be aware of this truth and accept that your situations or your thoughts are not your identity. Your true identity lies within you, and you can identify it by becoming aware of the present moment. By leveraging the power of now, you can discover this true self and transform your life. All of humanity's problems can be traced back to one thing: the human mind. Our mind masks our true identity by putting up a facade. This facade, or false identity, prevents us from achieving the ideal state of inner peace, where we attain complete calm, perfect balance, and stability. We all go through life desperately searching for mental peace, but most of us are unaware that it lies deep within ourselves. Why? Because the mind is filled with chaos. Within each of our minds there is a silent pandemonium, and in the resulting noise and confusion, it is impossible to find our own inner peace. We are all guilty of living too much in our heads at times. We brood on problems and think about things incessantly. Rather than helping us, more often than not, this just leads to more problems. It is really important to recognize that our thoughts and our identities are two separate entities. Try to recognize when your mind is using you instead of the other way around. Silencing the incessant mental voice can have a dramatically positive effect. Observe your mental processes as an objective onlooker and assess whether they are helping or hindering you. Remember, you are not your mind. Always remember that your mind is just a tool. As soon as you stop associating your identity with your mind, you gain clarity. We all exhibit duality in our personality. The self that we show to the world is very different from our inner self. This duality creates conflict, which can manifest in many ways, such as depression, fear, confusion, and many other complex negative feelings. The truth is that all of these feelings would evaporate if we stop identifying with the false outer facade. When you become aware of your real identity, you can be described as entering an enlightened state where your mind is not shackled in any way. Becoming aware of this inner identity and staying aware of it should be your objective, because it will help you understand that all of your perceived problems are actually just an illusion of the mind. Another outcome of knowing your true inner self is that you understand how all of creation is interlinked. In religious terms, you could say that the Supreme Being, or God, or whatever else you may wish to call this entity, exists within each and every creation in the universe, creating a relationship between all of us. This understanding shows you how life cycles do not really end when a person dies, since the same essence lives on in millions of others. It is possible to use the power of now to silence the mind. The mind tends to keep flitting continuously from thought to thought. To stop this incessant activity, you should focus all your attention on the present moment. Consciously pull your thoughts away from their flitting pattern and bring them back to the present moment. This may seem to be impossible at first. Your mind will tend to wander the moment your attention wavers. But when you notice this happening, you should simply disengage your mind again and bring it back to the now. With practice, you'll find that you can do this for longer and longer periods of time. It is possible to do this as you are going about your daily activities too. Simply bring all your focus onto the work you are engaged in at that moment. Experience the activity through all of your senses. For example, if you're having lunch, experience how the food feels in your mouth. Experience the textures. Savor the different intermingled tastes. Be aware of the colors of the food. There are many ways in which you can truly sense, enjoy, and experience something even as simple as a piece of fruit or a drink. As you continue to practice this, you'll begin to appreciate that when you become fully aware of your current activity and fully experience it, your thoughts are no longer taking center stage. You have now effectively disengaged your mind. In fact, you can sit back and look at your thoughts as an impartial observer, just like you can experience hot or cold or sweet or sour for a few moments and then enjoy an entirely different taste. When you feel strong emotions, it may be impossible to stay detached from them by staying focused on the present. For that brief time, you are owned by the emotion and it controls you. It is possible to prevent this from happening, just like you did with your flitting thoughts. When you observe your emotions as a disinterested third party, they flow through you and finally dissipate. It's only when you associate emotions with your identity that you give them substance and allow them to linger. Detaching yourself from your emotions is a popular technique to keep painful experiences away. For example, if you stop yourself from getting angry, you can avoid saying or doing things that you'll probably regret later. But in your constant struggle to become free of emotion, aren't you also constantly causing yourself much more pain? Worse still, if you fail in this struggle, you are sure to feel disappointment. And if you succeed, you'll feel happy. Aren't these emotions too? The most effective way to break the hold emotions have over you is to let them flow and ebb away and watch them as a disinterested outsider. This becomes possible when you stay focused on the present moment instead of on the emotion. Most often, it's fear that makes it impossible for you to live in the present. Trace this fear back to its roots, and you see that it arises because your physical form is perishable. For example, think about a common fear that most of us have, the fear of aging. Explore further and you can see that it is a fear of what aging brings in terms of physical changes and the inability to do the things you are doing now that is dominant. In effect, you are afraid of the deterioration of your physical body and ultimately the destruction of it when it comes with aging. What if aging did not affect you physically at all? Would you still worry about it? Another cause of fear is that your identity is irrevocably connected with your ego, which can be hurt. When you learn to look at your mind processes as an impartial observer, you know that your ego is not the real you. Then why fear hurting the ego? What you need to do is take your attention away from these false beliefs and invest it all in your real self by focusing on the present moment. The most effective way to achieve this is to practice self-observation. Monitor yourself. See how your fears unconsciously cause you to resist living in the present. Once you know this, you will learn to make the choice to avoid resistance and negativity by focusing on the present moment and banishing your fears. It's not easy to discard your outer facade and find your true inner self. One of the obstacles you may face is your inbuilt resistance to the present. When your mind is in constant conflict, unable to accept what is happening in your life, it creates pain. To pull your mind away from these conflicts, you should start focusing on the present moment instead of the future or past. This makes it possible for you to pull your mind away from perceived future problems and past slights. Learning from your past and preparing for the future is absolutely necessary. However, dwelling on an expected future or brooding over the past leaves you caught up in a psychological time, which is counterproductive and the root of all negative thoughts. Understand that there is a difference between time as it flows naturally in the universe and the psychological time that exists only in your mind. Freedom from all of life's perceived problems can happen now in this moment. You only have to recognize and embrace it right now. Think of it this way. When you focus all your attention on the present moment, are there any problems? No. The problems lie in some uncertain future, or they existed in some remote past. Why let them cloud your thinking and your identity now? Let go of psychological time, and you learn to look into the present moment, and perceive the truth that the present moment cannot hurt you. Another important fact to understand is that how you deal with your problems is entirely up to you. It is completely within your control, although you may feel that your life is spiraling out of control. Accept the problems or resolve them. These are the two solutions open to you. Dwelling constantly on what was or what will be is pointless because it does not help achieve either solution. However, look at the problems as independent events occurring in your life instead of viewing them as your life itself, and you will then be able to choose which solution you want. Avoid dwelling on the past or chasing the future. It does not mean inaction. In fact, it is absolutely necessary to act when you sense yourself becoming negative. For example, you find yourself in a situation at work that you're not happy with. Maybe you have a demanding boss who has unrealistic expectations of you, or you have a team member who refuses to pull their weight. There are two courses of action open to you. Either change the situation or accept it. No matter which solution you choose, be ready to face the consequences of your action. There may be situations where you are afraid to take any kind of action. In such cases, simply accept the fear and you will see that it becomes insignificant. When this happens, the situation can no longer overwhelm your thoughts and cause constant worry and unhappiness. We all know that it's important to have a purpose in life. Often you get so caught up in what you want to achieve that you don't pay attention to how you are getting there. As a result, life becomes a race where you are constantly chasing after the goal. Achieving the goal is definitely important, but not if it means you lose your inner peace. Living in the present can help you live your life with a goal, but without compromising on your happiness. The first thing to do is to let go of your past, because only then can you stay focused on your purpose. Your past is already an integral part of you because your present attitudes, beliefs, and so on have been shaped by everything that has happened to you in the past. Then why constantly keep your thoughts centered on the past as well? Don't give attention to the past, and you succeed in leaving it behind. One of the biggest challenges in letting go of the past comes because you find it impossible to forget or forgive the hurt that others have caused you. The anger and abusive words that a loved one hurled at you in a fit of emotion can cause you much heartbreak years after the incident. Unless you can let go of these incidents in the past, you cannot move past the negative emotions that come with it. To truly let go of the past, forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools you can use. Forgive your past grievances. Forgive the people who have slighted you. Forgive yourself for mistakes that you have made. When you forgive, you can finally detach your mind from all of these thoughts and the resulting emotions. The next thing is to consciously live in the present or be present. Simply put, all this means is that you are intensely aware of the present moment. When you achieve that, you can be alert and free of conflicting thoughts that make it impossible to make decisions. Peace is not linked to happiness or unhappiness. You can be at peace even if your life situation is bad, when you understand that the situation is bad only when you perceive it as bad. That means it is only perception that is good or bad. Just accept what is, so that no resentment, fear, or expectation builds up. Disassociate yourself from your life situations. When you do this, the situations will flow over you and dissipate without affecting your inner peace in the least. Remember, it is when you allow your ego to be linked to your identity that you find it difficult to let go in this way. For example, perhaps you've performed badly at work and you're constantly worried about what your superiors and your peers will say about it. Here it's your ego that's afraid of being hurt. The fact is that you know you've performed badly. That means you're aware of what needs to be changed. The right step is to focus on how to change your work style or improve your skills so that this does not happen again. Realize that your superior or your peers can only tell you what you already know, that you have performed badly. Now the situation suddenly becomes very simple. Disassociate yourself from your ego and you realize that the bad part of the situation is already over and done with. What lies ahead is for you to prove you can excel. Once you switch your attention to what is needed at the present moment, working on a solution to the situation, the problem instantly fades into the background. In fact, it turns positive because you use it to fuel your efforts to excel at your job. Surrender yourself to the present moment. The word surrender instinctively evokes fear in you because you equate it to resignation to fate, acceptance, listlessness, or inaction. But this is not true. Surrender only means acceptance of the truth. This clears your thoughts and brings focus to the situation instead of keeping you stuck on the reactions and emotions associated with it. Surrender brings clarity of thought so that you can take the precise and appropriate action to change your situation. As we saw with the example given before, this kind of surrender followed by appropriate action helps you to use every bad situation to your advantage in some way. Doesn't that mean there are no longer any bad situations or bad experiences in your life? Every one of them is simply an opportunity to learn more or to hone your skills or to understand which is the right action to take. This is how you leverage the true power of now to transform your life. Harnessing the power of now allows you to discover your true self. It gives you new insight into yourself and shows you how your ego and your mind are the cause of all your problems. Living in the present moment makes it very evident that your life situations, all those things you've been perceiving as problems are all illusions. The reality is just that this present moment exists. When you know this, you have unveiled your true inner self, one that is completely unaffected by time, experiences, emotions, or the expectations of people around you. We tend to live with regret about the unchangeable past or with fear about the uncertain future. In this process, we overlook the many opportunities that come our way now. We also allow the fallacy of time to cloud our perception and prompt us to associate our identity with our thoughts. When we learn to live in the present moment, we unveil our true identity and understand how to make the best of every precious moment of our life. Thank you for listening to the Self-Care 101 podcast. If you enjoyed the show, I would love it if you would subscribe, rate and review so that other people like you can find the show. To find out more about me, you can follow me on the socials at Frankly Coaching or visit my website franklycoaching.com. meditative.com. Talk to you soon.